All right, this is Jim Carty of the Patch in southeastern Connecticut. I'm here with my old pal Tinsley Ellis. How you doing, Tins?
Doing good. I'm down here in the man cave doing some recording this
There
morning.
you go, the man cave. Rah, 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 rah.
Yeah.
So, is that where you do your Sunday morning coffee as well there?
Yes, I do those, and I do all my
Yeah.
demos down here, and I even work on my albums down here in the basement as well.
That's great. Well, I just want to tell folks why we're getting together straight away. So we're very excited you're coming to the Northeast, and I'm going to run down the dates real quickly for folks so they have it right away.
Great.
You're coming real close to my house in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, to the Katharine Hepburn Theater.
The cake.
That's the Kate as we call it, and that's on August 24th. Then you run out to Albany on the 25th. You go to a relatively new but very cool supper club, Jimmy's Jazz and Blues in Portsmouth, New Hampshire on the 26th. And then you head down to work for our old pal John Hall in Marshfield at the North River Blues Festival on a show that only $15 to get into the Marshfield Fair. And it's got John Primer, Dennis Brennan, Chris Beard on the day that you're working. So that ain't bad.
That'll be a great event. We love outdoor shows.
Yeah, good. But I also want to talk about the new record. It's your 20th release. Wow, man, you're getting old.
It's been a long, hard climb to the middle.
I tell you, I remember me, we're front row with you and Oliver Wood at Harper's Ferry all those years ago.
Well,
When
I met you actually before that. That would have been 1993, but I met you probably at was it called Ed Burke's in
probably
Boston?
at Ed Burke's. Yep.
Yeah. Ed, that would have been in the late 80s, if not maybe 1990 or 91 with Jack Randall.
What's really weird is my dad grew up with Ed Burke.
Yeah.
In Milton, Massachusetts. In his neighborhood, they played football with the Monorano brothers, who were part of Whitey Bulger's crew.
How about that?
Yeah, John Monorano was the hitman for Whitey Bulger. And my dad said he hated playing football with those guys. And Ed was not a big guy. Ed was not any good any use when the Monorano brothers came to play football, as my father will recount. But
amazing.
But we actually, I was telling you how I do house concerts, and we had a house concert with Joanna Connor, and Holly Harris and I gave Ed Burke a Lifetime Achievement Award about 6 months before he passed.
Oh, that is a great thing.
Really wonderful. He was such a sweet man, and
really great
everybody
guy.
He kept people working and kept his bar going there for a long time. But 20 albums, that's quite an accomplishment. Can you tell me about Devil May Care?
Well, Devil May Care pretty much started down here in my basement. I came off the road from the last album, Ice Cream in Hell, and we were off the road for so long, and I didn't want to lose my chops, and Lord knows I didn't want to sit down here and rehearse. So what a better way to keep my chops up than to do some songwriting, and I wrote a lot of songs and picked the best ones for this Devil May Care album.
I heard you wrote like 500 songs or some ridiculous amount. Like
not quite that many. I wrote 200 of them.
200. Yeah.
Some of them are pretty damn weird, tell you the truth. But between the fans on social media and the friends at Alligator Records, and me, of course, chose what we thought was the best collection of songs. And I think the time that we spent on it was well worth it.
That it's such an anomaly for an artist like yourself to have that hiatus like everybody had during COVID to dig into their songwriting or whatever they chose to do with their time then. What was your process, or what was that like for you?
Well, I would come down here in the morning with a cup of coffee at about 6 or 7 in the morning and go till about noon and force myself. Usually hunger would drive me upstairs, and and then the next day do the same thing. And I did that 6 days a week, and now I'm off the road. I got back late last night, and here I am working on a new song. So I've really gotten into the songwriter thing. Of course, I still enjoy playing shows, but songwriting is kind of my passion nowadays.
That's really great. I just actually had James Armstrong from California here, and I don't know if you know his story. He had a home invaders to stab him and injure his hand really horribly. And when he was learning to play guitar again, he said it forced me to be a better songwriter. He says, it sounds nuts, but maybe this wasn't the
Yeah.
worst thing for my career, taking a step back and learning new techniques with slide and songwriting and so on. So
Yeah, that's making lemonade out of lemons right there.
that's it. That's it. So, I love the new record. I was listening to it just before here. One Less Reason, I love it. Always your lyrics are just great. And that's a great mid-tempo burner.
Thanks.
And then Right Down the Drain, has like a nice Allman Brothers feel. Of course, you work with the brothers so much I almost at the beginning of Just Like Rain, I almost felt like a Sean Costello tone
Oh, thank you.
a little bit. And of course, you knew Sean and worked with Sean, and
Very well.
you
Very
know,
well.
you want to talk to some of the folks you worked with, some of your influences, and I was reading that you did go back to some of your influences during COVID to get inspiration for your songwriting. So found that interesting.
Yeah, I would usually start the songwriting process by listening to some music, Allman Brothers, concert tapes, and Mike Bloomfield and BB King. Those come to mind, and then I would get inspired and say, I was just thinking how great that brothers and sisters era of Allman Brothers was, with Chuck LaBelle and the band, and then
Oh
that
my God, yes.
kind of inspired Right Down the Drain. That sounds sort of like a brothers and sisters type groove, and
Yeah.
so I just kind of channeled my love for the music, because I'm a fan first and a musician, singer musician second. Really, I'll always be a fan, and so I kind of channel that love of that style, that Allman's kind of Fillmore era. I guess that
Yes,
was
yes.
the best description of it,
Mhm.
and Hendrix, of course. So right there, that's my wheelhouse. Late '60s, early '70s.
It's funny you say you're a fan first. There was one night I get to hang out with Greg Allman because I was friendly with Jerry Jamont. So every time Jerry and Greg would come with the Greg Allman band, I would go back and see those guys after the show. And one night Greg was really chatty, and I said, Greg, I gotta work tomorrow. It's like a Wednesday. I gotta split. And I start getting out of my chair, and he took my knee, threw me back in the chair because we were talking about his favorite Muddy Waters records or Howlin' Wolf records. And it was so nice to see a guy like of his stature still excited about the guys he really loved,
He
and that
went
can
out on
still
a
happen.
he went out on a high note with that last album of his. What a
He sure
great
did.
album!
I
Brought
actually
tears to my eyes.
I came down for the tribute down at in Atlanta to him, and it was just great. I thought Jack Pearson was amazing. Chuck Leavell was amazing.
Oh yeah.
Sam Moore. Oh my God, what a show that was.
I wish I'd been in town for that, but I was traveling. But
Yeah.
my friend said I really missed it, and going back and listening to it later, I go, I sure did miss something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what a band. That's my scene, I guess. I don't really have any other birthright besides Georgia music. I'll never be Muddy Waters or Howlin' Wolf, but I could throw down on some Dickie Betts style guitar playing, and
Oh yeah.
and our mutual friend Tom Dowd. Real fortunate to be able to work with him, and I make every album. When I make an album, I ask myself, what would Tom Dowd do here? And the answer becomes very clear.
Well, I mean, I remember I went up to you at Hartford's. I was so excited when you had your first release with Tom producing, and it's like, oh my God, this is just monumental. And you enjoyed working with Tom, obviously.
Yeah, it was one of his last recording projects. I think his final one might have been Joe Bonamassa.
I was going to say it was Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, what a legacy that man left, and I sure do miss him. And I was able to call on him, and he gave me time as if I was Rod Stewart or something. He gave me his advice and his time over the phone, and I cried like a baby when he died. They don't make record men like that anymore.
No, you still have Mark Pucci to hang out with, though.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's fun too. Yeah, I've the Capricorn Records crowd they pass me around like a joint from one to the next. You know, I've been with all of them,
that they
and
do.
yeah, it's great to have them all. Some of them are still around. Some of them, like the late great Johnny Sandlin, are gone. I wish I had got a chance to make an album with him. We talked about it, and we got pretty darn close, but I went another direction, and I wish I'd worked with Johnny Sandlin.
Of course, you know, 20 records. I'm still in awe of that. And you've been with Alligator a long time, but you started out with our really dear friend Chicago Bob Nelson, and with Heart Fixers on Landslide. And you know, I knew Bob at the end of his life, probably the last 10 or 15 years, and you knew him well in advance. Can you tell me a little bit about, you know, working with Bob in those days?
Well, Chicago Bob was around Atlanta in the mid to late 70s, and I was a college student at the time and going out to hear him. And when the band I was in, the Alley Cats, broke up, I turned to Chicago Bob, and we wanted to do a band sort of like in the Buddy Guy Junior Wells kind of mold with you know, 2 front men and a quartet, although we did add keyboards, piano on the albums, piano and organ. But yeah, it was great working with Chicago Bob. He had a briefcase. I don't know if he ever showed you any of those pictures of his briefcase of him, Alan Wolf, and him and Muddy. And I mean, he was the real thing. And when Chicago blues artists would come through Atlanta, you know, Muddy Waters or Howlin' Wolf alumni or James Cotton, they'd always ask about Bob Nelson.
Well, it was tough not to just adore Bob. You know,
he was a great guy, and you know, he's amazing. He knew all the lyrics to Bob Dylan's songs.
Did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was kind of a beatnik kind of a guy, or kind of a hippie, because he was younger than Muddy and younger than Cotton, and so Bob was a 60s kind of guy, and he would recite all the lyrics to Bob Dylan, you know, Blonde on Blonde era, Highway 61 era albums, and in his beautiful Louisiana, rural Louisiana voice, which sounded like he was
Louisiana, Bogalusa. Don't forget it.
It sounded like he was singing when he talked. He was
it was great,
really great. Yeah.
All of us up here in Boston would try to, you know, it was like you would have Johnny Most competitions at the bar to call the game. Well, all of us who went in the blues scene around Bob would all try to do Bob's voice better than the other.
Yeah, same in Atlanta. I've got a friend that nails it, and he'll call and leave voice messages, and it sounds exactly like Chicago Bob calling.
Tinsley, it's Bob. Pick up, Tinsley.
yeah. Oh, he'd say it kind of be a singing kind of voice, and he'd like he could really kind of swing it when he would talk. I can't do it right now, but I can.
Usually I hear, you got my red wine, Jim. You got my wine.
And you know, he in Atlanta when he was here, because he'd go back and forth between Boston and Atlanta, but he also had San Francisco roots as well. But he would always be there at Blind Willie's, either playing or hanging out and holding court.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, you know, you just work with so many great people, you know, it must be gratifying, you know, and Oliver's done great, you know.
It sure has.
You know, I chatted with him maybe a year ago. He's doing great.
Yeah.
And, you know, who else have you mentored? You know, when you get to be our age, you know, it's kind of nice to look back and think, you know, I put my thumbprint on that.
Well, we were making the Storm Warning album in 1993, and we did that here in Atlanta with Eddie Offord producing it, and we were making it and going in there to record, and Oliver Wood said, you know, on those slide guitar parts I'm playing on the album, I think it would sound better if we used Derek Trucks.
Oh yeah.
I said, and I was like, you mean that 13-year-old kid we let sit in with us down in Florida? And he said, yeah. And it was, I think, Derek's first time in a really big recording studio, and his first, you know, major released was on the Storm Warning album, and Oliver Wood is responsible for that. He gave his guitar parts to make the album better.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, and that's the kind of guy he is. And I still keep up with Oliver Wood, and of course Derek when he's in Atlanta. I'll get the call every year or so to come down and sit in. And it feels like old times, and we'll share stories of the old crazy Jacksonville crowd that we know down there. Really nutty city.
Yeah, I mean, and of course I grew up with Susan, being here in Boston, and it's great. They're a great couple, and the Tedeschi Trucks band is just dynamite.
So I love watching my friends do well. I guess one of the rites of passage for people who get famous is to have been my opening act, and
right.
And Johnny Lang and Oliver and Derek and Susan, and they haven't forgotten their old friend, and I appreciate that very much.
Right, you and Colonel Bruce. I mean, you can't talk Atlanta music without you and Colonel Bruce, in my opinion. Yeah,
we go way. Bruce and I went way back, and he was basically, now that he's not alive, I'll tell you, when I met him, he was like a homeless guy, kind of, before the Aquarium Rescue Unit, and he was in between, and he was trying comedy and alto sax and stuff like that. And we had a band called the Stained Souls in the early 80s, and we would I remember we played a show out in Athens, and Dave Schools, the bass player of Widespread Panic, was the doorman of the club. That's how long ago it was. And at the end of the night, between just a low attendance and maybe people asking for their money back, because our music definitely bordered on noise or performance art, at the end of the night I had to go back and get paid, and at the end of the night we owed the venue money, and I had to go to Bruce and say, Bruce, they say that we owe them money, and he went, perfect. You thought that was like a perfect show. Of course the bass player, the drummer, didn't think so.
Right, it's we'll write the traveler's check out on the dashboard.
Exactly, one of those kind of scenarios. And it wasn't because we drank a lot, it's because we had to pay the sound company and the doorman and for all the refunds. I mean, we made a racket. And I miss old Bruce. I was there at his last show. He died on stage. Died on stage. It was a great show up to that point. I mean, really took a turn for the worse, that's for sure. Yeah. Well,
I read at Taz's feet, and Taz is doing great, and an Allman Brothers tribute band now, so.
Yes, and that's a very gifted guitar player there. And that's exactly what happened. He died right at the young man's feet, looking up at him and smiling. And how could that not affect you? Woof. Boy.
Yeah, it was an intense moment for sure. But anyway, we're excited to have you come visit us real soon, Tins, and get this out wide and loud so that everybody can know to come out, and especially fill the room at the Cape right near me. But I'll also be traveling down to North River Blues Festival to see all my Boston friends.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. And I look forward to sharing this online, and then everyone can know what a monumental name dropper I am.
Yeah, you and me both.
I said everybody. Did I leave anybody out? I even mentioned Jimi Hendrix. So, I guess I've done my job.
Yes, you have. Well, congratulations on the 20th record, and it's a fantastic one.
Thank you, my friend. And I look forward to seeing everybody up in the New England area at the end of August.
Super. Thank you so much, Tinsley. This was fun. We should do this more often.
Yeah, man. I do look forward to seeing you. You remind me of a, dare I say, a better time, a more simple time in life.
Yeah. Good. That makes me feel really good. Thank you. All right, Tins. You take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.
Take care, my friend.
All right.